And we are here on the TWSN YouTube channel, giving you guys the content that you all want, the content that you deserve. The TWSN World Series reaction show, baby. We got Tom Seipp, our lead baseball analyst somehow. Somehow he's our lead baseball analyst.
Even though I picked the Rays, still somehow I hold the position.
Yes, and I believe you said if this series goes past 5 games, the Rays will win.
It was a very plausible statement, so I do not regret saying that.
It was. I really liked it at the time. I just like making fun of you when you're wrong.
Thank you.
And Steve Ammann, you couldn't join us for the preview, but I'm happy you're here for the reactions.
Hey,
How are
man,
you, man?
appreciate it.
All right. This man blew up on Twitter with a David Freese tweet a couple nights ago, so go check that out. And Jacob Aframian, the one man, he stood against us all. He was like, the Dodgers are going to win. The Dodgers are going to win. Blah, 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 blah. Adam Gase size or whatever. And you were right. I would like to congratulate you on that.
I know I didn't say blah, 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 and I made enough sense because I know I made some good points the last episode, but good to see you, Shaun. Good to see the rest of you, and I'm glad to be here.
Everything you say sounds like blah, blah, blah to me, but no, I'm kidding, Jacob. You made a lot of points, and more importantly, you turned out to be right. So,
and Shaun, may I add, we are missing Michael Seitz this time. I will say, I attend St. Bonaventure with him. He has been crying since the final out after Kevin Cash's, mishap. So he is still crying. That's why he's unable to join.
I mean, he's a Pirates fan, so he's kind of used to misery.
Oh, he's used to losing. Actually, it's funny enough. We were watching the World Series together, and during the 9th inning, he was talking about the Pirates. I'm like, dude, I do not care. But
that sucks. He had to watch the World. He had to watch the Rays, and he had to watch it with you. Oh God.
Oh God, just kidding. I love watching baseball at Tom. Tom's one
just kidding. You just kidding. I love you, Tom.
Yeah, and Tom's one of the smartest baseball guys I know. I mean, this guy, most high schoolers talk to girls. Tom watch baseball.
Thank you.
All right, let's dig right into it. Tom, all right.
Who has the girlfriend in this video? Just saying.
He is upset.
All right, whatever.
Anyway, let's get to it.
All right, Tom. Let's get right to this one, Tom. We know there are 2 big stories tonight. I'm going to start with the Rays' big storyline. Blake Snell, 5 1/3 of nearly flawless baseball. The Rays, they were in their control to put a shit in the Game 7. And Kevin Cash, who going into tonight, as we said before this video, was the best manager in baseball, still is in my mind, a little fiasco.
Sure.
But was the best manager in baseball, pulls Blake Snell after a base hit and going into his 3rd time in the lineup. And I know we're all in this age of analytics, numbers, but the eye test still matters. And analytics doesn't mean everything. So give me your thoughts here. Did he make the right decision?
At the time, I was kind of more defensive because, listen, I never have been a Blake Snell guy, even when I won the Cy Young. But this postseason, he has been, really good all postseason long. There is, the Rays, the reason that they're in the World Series, the reason why they're in Game 6 of the World Series is because they've used sabermetrics over the past, however many years. I would say around 3 where they've done it extensively as much as they have. And so at the time, I remember during a commercial break, one of our TWSN analysts, Chris Wilson tweeted out something. And, I replied hey, this is what they've done. I'm not saying it's the right move, but this is what they've done. They trust their stuff. If they got to this point from doing it, why quit now? But listen, if I was a manager, I would never do something like that because, plain and simple, it's – I think it was Steven. We said it before. Who, it was the 3rd time in the lineup. Of course, we all know the statistics of facing a lineup the third time. But I think, Steven, you said, I think it's, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, they were 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts. So obviously it's a human element. It's sometimes you have to go with your gut. Terry Collins did it, 2015 World Series with Matt Harvey, had to bring it up. Shaun, we always have to bring up Matt Harvey. But it's just situations like that where you have to stick with, what's working at that time.
All right. Now, Tom, I mean, this happened World Series 2015. I think happened Boston 2018.
Yes.
When will these managers learn? Will they ever learn that you have to add a human element? The past is the best predictor of future behavior. And you feel like at some point you have to learn from your colleagues, but we very well might be having the same conversation in 2 years or next year if the Yankees happen to make it and Aaron Boone throws in Tommy Kahnle for some reason instead of leaving out Garrett Cole.
Yeah, he's going to put in Tommy Kahnle after Garcia throws an immaculate inning of just 9 pitches. You say, no, that wasn't good enough. We need to that wasn't fast enough. You didn't get
Back to the World Series talk, please. Sean, what were you
next
saying?
year's World Series. No.
But when do you think we will ever learn, or do you think baseball is too far gone to actually fix this issue?
That's a very interesting second part of that question. Because baseball has turned into a sabermetric brand, and I'm sitting here watching Fox Sports after the game with this situation, and it's a panel of Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Judge, Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz, Frank Thomas, and they all 4 of them bashed sabermetrics, and these are 3 potential Hall of Famers, or one Hall of Famer, two future. So it's guys who've played the game, who've been involved with the game, who hate it, and it's very interesting to see. You say is it too far fetched, and that's such a good question. I think this is such a good example of when you have to pay attention to the human element, and it'll be interesting to see how teams and managers react to it.
All right, Steven, I want to kick this over to you real quick, and I want to kind of pose you the same question I posed to Tom, but in a different way. Tom just talked about those Hall of Famers, and Tom was saying, oh my God, like they played in this era. But a lot of these stats, ERA plus, OPS plus, a lot of these sabermetrics, a lot of the way these stats are done, it's you compare this guy to the average athlete. The average, like usually a baseline of 100 for ERA and OPS plus. It's the baseline is compared to the average hitter, wins above replacement, the average replacement level player. That's the baseline for a lot of these stats. Blake Snell isn't a replacement level player. Even if Tom is not the biggest Blake Snell fan, pretty sure we could agree that he's a legitimate number 1, high end 2 in every rotation.
Sure.
That's sure. So he's not the average player. So do you agree that, again, the human element has to be put in and we need to stop treating guys like Snell, guys like, I forget who it was in 2018, guys like Matt Harvey, who was once one of the top 3.
Rich Hill.
Yeah.
We need to stop treating them like they are this average baseline player and start looking at them like they are above that.
I mean, that's a tough question. I understand what you're saying. I'm a huge fan of the sabermetrics. We've seen it work for a lot of teams. We've seen Billy Beane do it with the Oakland A's and how he completely changed that organization. The Rays, especially over the last couple of years, have used it more than anybody. They were the first team to really implement the opener, which was the guy that went out there and threw the inning before getting to another guy in the bullpen. They used the shift more than most teams in baseball. I saw the other day they were playing 4 outfielders in the 6th inning. I looked up and I was kind of amazed. And it's worked for them all year. Like I said, they were the best team in the American League, regular season and postseason. They deserve to be here. Now tonight, like we've said, there was a human element. There was an element where you had to look at it and say, oh, well, Blake Snell is against the top 3 hitters in the Dodgers batting lineup, has struck them out 6 times over their 2 rounds of hitting. So yes, like you said, there is definitely a human element. There's an eye test that goes with it. And like you said, it's Blake Snell. Do those sabermetrics. I want to know what they were telling him, because I didn't understand it during the game. And in hindsight, of course, it didn't work. But you can go look at my Twitter. During the game, I bashed Kevin Cash for it. I thought it was a stupid move when it happened, and it really looks like a stupid move now.
No, and this is the thing and I've already said it, but this is the thing that's continuing to baffle me about this decision. It's not learning from the past. Hell, not to get political, but the president, Tom, sent me the tweet from 2018. Donald Trump said that they made the mistake in 2018. We're not getting political right now. But 2015 with Harvey. Hell, go to the round against the Yankees, my freaking boys.
Our
New York Yankees. Our Yankees, Jacob. I'm so sorry for excluding you. But they take out Divey early because they're trying to play the Rays game. We have seen consistent elements of forgetting the human element, and somehow we still are just so fixated on this futuristic ideal of sabermetrics. And yes, there's a place for it. I think shifts are great. The 4 outfield stuff, it's very cute. It's great, and it really does work a lot of the time. But this neglect of what Steven will call the human element, which is a perfect way to put it. I think Steven called it that. But the neglect of the human element of sports, the things that make sports so great. Like I saw it on Bleacher Report. It was like Mookie Betts rounding the basement. It was like, just got to frame this. Those are the things that make sports great. You know, the Rays rushing the field after Game 7. You know, you're down, you lose 3 in a row, you come back. All 4 of us blowing up after the Game 4 fiasco ending. Again, a human error by Max Muncy or Chris Taylor or Will Smith. It was Max Muncy. That's my opinion. Tom will tell you.
I agree. I completely agree.
You learn in Little League, you get in between the center fielder and home plate, and that's what you do. That's how you do this. I saw Steven shake his head. But this neglect of the human element of the game by front office and managerial staffs continues to baffle me at this point in Major League Baseball, and I think it needs to get fixed. But, again, this was the biggest play of the series. This should have been the biggest play of the series if Kevin Cash didn't blow this. But the Game 4 fiasco, Steven, I saw you shaking your head. Give me your thoughts on that. And then I'll let Tom rip you to shreds.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I don't understand. Max Muncy was the cutoff man, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so I don't understand how we're blaming this on the cutoff man when Chris Taylor was the one in center field. First of all, that was their biggest error of the series. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
That was the only game Cody Bellinger wasn't in center field. So that definitely played a part in it. Anyway, Chris Taylor bobbles the ball, makes the throw. It's on Will Smith. It's on the catcher. The catcher reached over and didn't catch it. And you can argue, I understand that he was trying to do the swipe tag because he didn't know where it was a Rosarena, right?
Yes.
He didn't know where a Rosarena was. However, you have to secure the ball before it matters. It's the catcher's fault. It was a catchable throw. Was it a great throw? No, not by any means. But it was definitely catchable. It hit his glove. So, yes, it's on Will Smith. Max Muncy wasn't perfect on the play by any means. However, this one is purely on Will Smith.
I agree with Steven on that one. I agree.
Max Muncy, first of all, if you look at the play as well, absolutely. Chris Taylor in center field, bobbling the ball. No one's denying that. That was, obviously that led to everything. There's no doubt about that. But it was a fixable error because, in all honesty, if you look at it in real time, nothing else really would have been changed from the situation. Rosarena would have, stayed at third. If you look at Max Muncy, he was lazy. He was caught lazy. He was standing on the first base side. Again, Shaun, I think, Shaun, we had the conversation about this. So I think you bring up my point. As in, I played first base. Listen, I wasn't the greatest first baseman in the world, but I damn well knew to, line up myself with the catcher and center fielder and right fielder when the ball is sent to the outfield. He's caught lazy near the foul line is where Max Muncy's standing, where he makes a quick transition and throws to the opposite side of Will Smith. Of course, you can say it's a catchable ball, but in Game 4 of the World Series, when you have the winning run coming down in the bottom of the ninth, and you need a quick swipe tag with the guy who flew around the bases, you're not really thinking of catching insecurity and placing down. You need the swipe tag, and you need a perfect throw to just be able to catch and receive and go right to the plate. You need to have a good throw on that side. Will Smith reaching to his backhand side to catch and make the swipe hand, that's where I find the error. Of course, Will Smith, again, you could slow it down and say, oh, it's a catchable ball. He could have stayed there, caught it, and put it down, but he didn't know that, a Rosarena
he didn't know that a Rosarena
stumbling around the third base.
However, for a swipe tag to be applied, you have to have the ball in your glove. So yes,
of course.
I do. But again, and this goes back to, this is the answer that none of us have given. None of this happens if Chris Taylor doesn't bobble the ball.
Sure. And again, I completely understand that. But at the same time, if you really look at, I think it's the aerial view. I always love looking at the aerial views. If you look at the aerial view, you can see when the error is made, the only thing that would have been different is a Rosarena never would have turned, third to come home. He would have stayed at third. The first run would have already scored.
Yes.
That's the only difference.
It was a blue pit, 2 outs they were running.
Correct.
Yep. That's a perfect way to say it. And like Steven said about Will Smith, you have to catch the ball. Same thing goes for Chris Taylor on that play. It's a domino effect on that play. And while we could try to dissect it, fundamentals come first. Honestly, it's a 3-way error on that play. Smith could have caught it, should have caught it. Muncy got lazy. Tom was an all-conference first baseman. He knows this stuff.
I was.
Were you?
I
Wait,
was back in my day.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah, all county right here, man.
Can I get the proof?
Look it up.
I want the
Tom,
proof.
I'll share it after.
I'd like to see the proof on that.
It'll be on the TWSN front page tomorrow.
Are you gonna write like back in your days? Like that's the headline for your article?
That's the looking back article this week. Looking back at Tom Seipp's amazing senior season.
Go back to the glory days.
When you
Yeah,
batted 333 for Lady of Lords High School.
Hey, listen, you said it on me.
It's Our Lady of Lords, right, Tom?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Aframian.
Aframian. I'm just playing. But Jacob, again, you've been a little silent today. You've been coming in, with your little comments. You're throwing a couple of jabs. You're feeling good about yourself.
I've been waiting.
Give me your thoughts here. Give me on everything you've been hearing so far. Let me hear what you got to say.
Well, I mean, I agree with a lot of the stuff that everyone said about that whole one play. I mean, I feel like it's kind of overanalyzed since the Dodgers kind of already won the series. So it's like, I feel like if they lost this series and we would talk, I think that game would be worth talking about more. But I feel like it was just a triple whammy pretty much. It was just a bunch of mistakes, human errors that they shouldn't have made, and just a wild game. That was game 4.
Yes.
And, that gave the Rays a whole lot of life because I think if they lost that game, Kershaw they would have lost the next game and they would have lost in 5, in my opinion. So that gave the Rays a whole lot of life. Unfortunately, it was not enough, as we talked about tonight. Kevin Cash made a brutal, horrible decision. And I 1,000% agree with you, Shaun. I think that I'm so sick and tired of this over-analytics of baseball, especially openers. Get rid of them, please. I cannot take it anymore. I am so sick and tired of this bull crap of just like, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't good enough. He only got a 1, 2, 3 inning. Let's get rid of him. What kind of crap is that? That's just stupid. I need to get back to like having starting pitchers that go deep into games. Like Blake Snell, he should have won at least another inning or 2. And with the way he was going, he probably would have won another inning or 2. But Kevin Cash had other ideas. He said, no, let's. Well, he couldn't be pitching any better. He only has, 73 pitches because that means his arm must be falling off. Let's just take him out. Even though he was mowing down the team. I don't know how Kevin Cash is ever going to let that one down. I know in Tampa, they're never going to let that one down. But luckily they have the Buccaneers. So, they'll forget about the race in like a week. So it doesn't make much of a difference.
Well, let me just say, Jacob, I look really forward along with Steven and Shaun and hopefully Michael Seipp as well to have, in the off season, I plan on having many more baseball shows, and I would love to talk about the opener. And I know you have a very strong opinion about the designated hitter in the National League, so I can't wait to have these conversations. Just a little early preview for the off season.
Time out.
Yeah, this will benefit your Mets. You want them? who knows? Because
Jacob, it's not about his Mets. It's about the future of the game.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to talk about this in the off season. Back to the World Series, please. Yes, Steven. Yes.
I'm a fan of the opener, as are you, I think.
Yes, I am.
You don't want a DH in the NL?
I would love to talk about it.
All right.
Way to give a teaser for the audience.
Jacob, let's get back into this then. Then I'm going to ask you one more question before we go on to what is now the biggest controversy in baseball and all of sports. But Jacob, what do you think was the key for the Dodgers winning it tonight? What was the key for the Dodgers winning this World Series?
I think with the World Series is something that I said in the preview video. The Dodgers have this inability to just get timely hits. And what I mean by timely hits is just hits when like 2 outs. If you look at, the stats and the stats that they presented, they were insane with 2 outs. No one was better with 2 outs hitting than the Dodgers. They just got runs on runs on runs with 2 outs. And that was so instrumental to their success this postseason because without it, they wouldn't be the same. But I think that's something that we saw. We saw a whole lot of timely hitting. We saw it with Mookie Betts tonight. We saw it with Corey Seager the entire series. Saw it with Austin Barnes at times the entire series. Will Smith, who he didn't have a great series, but his hits, every time he got hits, they were really instrumental towards this game, or this series, excuse me. And I think that was the key. And the pitching held up. The pitching did a really good job in this series for the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw was incredible, and I'm just so happy that he was able to silence his doubters and finally win a World Series. Walker Buehler is just mesmerizing when he's pitching. To me, he's incredible. He's a machine. I have been a huge Walker Buehler fan since his rookie year. Tom can attest to that after, I don't want to say I called it because everyone knew he was going to be a star, but I did jump on the bandwagon, as early as possible.
We understand, but Jacob, I think even more, you attest to, the timely hitting, 2 outs with runners in scoring position. You mentioned the starting pitching, but if you look at the preview, the one thing I criticize extremely about the Dodgers was their bullpen, and they silenced all the hitters pretty much. 7 in the third tonight, only 2 hits, 12 strikeouts, completely shut down this Rays lineup after the Rays threatened. Obviously scored their first run in the first inning, but threatened in the first and second inning. And the entire series, the bullpen was dominant. Dave Roberts, I give a little bit of credit. He did, work that bullpen pretty well. I don't know why Kenley Jansen had to disappear after Game 4 when he didn't even pitch that poorly. But the bullpen did step up, which was really, really, really important about the Dodgers.
Yep.
I did not foresee that happening. That
was definitely like the thing that was the thing that I think all of us were, even myself, we were all very nervous about with their bullpen because we thought, how is it going to hold up? Because we know the Rays and all them, they were like the machine. That was their pitching staff. The bullpen, the starting pitching of the bullpen down, they were just a big old well-oiled machine. And we thought the Dodgers aren't going to be able to keep up with that, but luckily they were. And that was huge in the series. Like Blake, how do you say his last name? Trinan.
Drake Trinan.
Excuse me. He was huge. He was huge in like one of the last games, and that was big. Him, obviously Jansen, who was shaky but still really solid. Guys like Floro, Urias was huge in this series, especially tonight, and it paid the dividends. And that's part of the reason why they can come out on top.
Look, can I say something real quick?
Steve, of course, man.
Of course.
That's great and dandy. Their pitching was great. Their bullpen was great, played above expectations. But are we really going to sit here and talk about how the Dodgers won this series and not mention Mookie Betts?
Oh, absolutely. Excuse me.
Steven, is he the best baseball player alive?
He is the best baseball player on the planet. Sorry, Mike Trout. Move over.
And I want to say something about Mike Trout. I'd like to say something about Mike Trout. You know what? I respect Mookie.
You're going to hit me with he's never been to the playoffs.
No. Let me say this. Let me
you
finish.
can talk. Then you can talk.
No, let me say something about Mike Trout. Has he been in the playoffs? No, but that's not his fault. But the problem that I blame him for, who the hell wants to play for the Angels for 12 years? That's like going to hell.
You blame for
He doesn't owe loyalty. He doesn't owe loyalty to that piece of garbage organization. If he really cared about winning, he would leave. But you know what he really cares about? He would rather go to He would rather go to all the Eagle home games than play playoff baseball. That's why he's never there.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, check it out.
Clearly, you don't give a fuck about loyalty.
I'm with you, Jacob.
How can you hate a guy for wanting to stay loyal to the Angels?
Why would you want to stay loyal to that piece of garbage? He was loyal.
Because when 23 other people passed on him, they took him. When everybody thought he was too much of a flyer to take, they developed.
Lottie frickin' da. I mean, come on.
You don't think the Yankees would pay him $400 million? You think?
Yeah, they would. But what I'm saying to Mike Trout is he was loyal enough. He did everything for them, and they let him down all the time. He did enough.
Did they not pay Albert Pujols?
I can't believe this is happening.
Did they not pay Josh Hamilton?
Those were horrible.
They were horrible deals. Did they not bring in Anthony Rendon? Did they not lure Shohei Ohtani when every team in baseball wanted him? Yes, they have failed him in the draft. They've failed to develop elite prospects. Hell, Matt Tice went to my high school, and I admit the guy's not that good. I got people who are friends with him. Like, I know people who grew up playing with him. My teacher was like, oh, yeah, he did. One of my teachers my junior year was like, yeah, I was like, Matt never misses class. What happened? They're like, oh, yeah, he actually got drafted. He's getting drafted by the Red Sox right now. And she was like, okay, I guess he can take his test tomorrow. But yes, they have failed him. But it's not for a lack of trying. They paid.
And again, I can't wait to embark on this conversation this winter where I guess I will have to add this. I will add this on the episode. Now, maybe if we can go back to the other team in Los Angeles who just, won the World Series.
Sorry, Tom, you do you.
The best player in baseball on their team.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to watch the Angels add another 10 hitters and just forget that they still need pitching, which they needed for
I'm just
10
so
years.
Happy
but I'm just so happy.
let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. I'm so happy for Clayton Kershaw. Finally got his World
me
Series.
too. I love.
Let's talk
Kershaw.
about Clayton Kershaw. I really thought that he should have won World Series MVP. I'm being honest.
No.
I don't totally disagree with you on that.
Oh my God.
Are you serious?
No, first of all, it was Corey Seager first.
Steven misses Mookie.
Corey Seager and Justin Turner. Maybe we can talk about him soon. Justin Turner should have won it before Mookie Betts.
Oh my God, Justin Turner almost shut down baseball.
Oh my God.
You just said Justin Turner was better than
Kevin
Mookie
Cash
Betts
just
this
isn't
series?
away from playing.
Yes, he had 2 homers early in games, which were much more crucial than
Mookie Betts had 2 homers in the series too.
Okay, one to add insurance. Gosh. Okay.
Mookie Betts is also stealing bases left and right.
And Mookie Betts had 4 stolen bases.
Tom, you never finished your Kershaw point. I would like to hear that.
He pitched, 2 fantastic games, and if I were allowed to finish, I would have said that it really would have fit the narrative in 2020 if we kind of just, gave it to him. They did win the 2 games that he started, and he pitched pretty well in both of them, especially in Game 5. I'm just so happy for him because I hate the Dodgers, if I'm being honest, from New York. I hate the Dodgers, hate watching them. I was hoping to see Tampa Bay pull it off, but I am happy to see the Dodgers win just so that Kershaw is able to get that ring because I feel like in baseball a lot of imbeciles like Jacob Aframian who knocks players for not winning. I think that's wrong. So I'm happy to see that Clayton Kershaw
You're funny, Tom.
has the championship under his belt.
Imbecile? Okay.
That's what
Hey, all right, we'll talk about Tom's little jab after the show. I mean, it's all in good fun. Let's remember, me, Jacob, Tom, Steven, we all talk really often. We were on a Zoom 2 nights ago talking, shooting, whatever. We talk all the time. It's out of pure love. But Steven, why should Mookie Betts have won World Series MVP?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Not Corey Seager, who
I'm
actually.
just laughing at Tom's reaction, Steven. I'm not laughing at you.
Look, the dude was the best player on the field this series. I'm sorry. He was. Clayton Kershaw threw 2 amazing games.
No, he wasn't. Be
Why
careful
don't you
what
let
you
him
say.
finish? Hey, we let you finish. Why don't you let him finish?
Tom, you can go ahead and make your point.
The point I was going to make is be careful what you say, Steven, because while I respect your opinion completely, you said best player on the field, and the best player on the field, the best player in the series was Randy Arozarena, who had arguably one of the best offensive postseasons ever.
You're right. Ever. However, he lost, and we don't give trophies to losers.
Jerry went for NBA MVP. Mike Trout has 4 MVPs, and Shagan wants to bring about the fact that he never wins.
Okay, look. Mookie Betts was the best player on the Dodgers this series. He showed it in this game where he had the double to put runners on second and third with 1 out right after – I think he was the first batter to face the new pitcher after Snell was taken out. Got the runners to second and third with 1 out, scored on a great break he had on a fielder's choice, then hit the insurance homer in the bottom of the 8th to make it 3-1. That's what it was. So, yeah, he was the best player on the field tonight. He was the best player on the field the whole series. I don't have the stats in front of me. I know he had 2 homers. He had 4 stolen bases. I don't know the batting average. He was amazing the entire series, made a couple of great defensive plays. Look, I understand why you think Clayton might have been it, but I'm of the opinion that Clayton was only on the field for 2 of the 6 games. Mookie Betts.
And listen, we all have wrong opinions, so it's fine, Steven.
All right.
Jacob thinks Mike Trout is wrong for being loyal.
I'm just kidding, Steven. Steven, you're right. You're right. That Mookie Betts was fantastic this postseason. There's no denying that fact. So, what you're saying is completely justifiable. Again, I kind of look for, you're right. Clayton Kershaw only appeared in 2 games. If it went 7 and he closed it out, then then you could definitely throw it to him. So I completely understand what you're saying. In terms of that, I think it would just fit the narrative. And I think more the reason I kind of pushed for Kershaw is because, yes, Mookie Betts was so great. So was Corey Seager. So was Justin Turner. And even Max Muncy was too. So it's all of these offensive guys. So, anyone, Steven, me and you can have an argument, whether it should be Corey Seager or Mookie Betts all night, because and at the end of the day, we're both right. We're both right what we're talking about. So that's why I kind of just want to throw a bone to Kershaw there. But you're absolutely right in what you're saying.
All right, so let's move on. Let's do quickly before we wrap this up. We did tell Jacob this would be like 15 to 20 minutes. We've exacerbated that time already, so sorry about that.
Pass.
But
Don't worry
Talk
about
about-
it. It's been worth the time.
Can we talk about what we all want to talk about?
yes,
And
Steven,
that's Justin Turner.
Steven, I'll let you start. I mean, like I'll do a quick recap. Justin Turner has tested positive for COVID-19 twice. He tested positive yesterday, I believe. Ken Rosenthal, one of the best reporters baseball has, maybe the best. I'll let Tom say yes.
Yes, and he actually did clarify, Shaun. He did clarify. So he actually the test from yesterday came back today in the second inning, where they then took his test from today and expedited it. What's the word? Expedited it. Thank you. I'm stumbling over my words there. Expedited it, where it was a second positive. So they both came back today during the game. So
Okay.
He actually misspoke the first time, where it said yesterday. So yes, you can continue.
Yeah, but that's not the controversy. We get it. He tested positive. He had tested negative before that. And again, Major League Baseball's immediate response is very probably politically correct, or however you want to respond to this. I mean, baseball for the most part is a safe sport, but they take him out of the game immediately, tell him to isolate. That is not where the conundrum lies right now. It's like, oh my God, that's crazy. But the conundrum lies in the fact that Justin Turner, who insisted himself, along with the Los Angeles Dodgers, who insisted, came back out onto the field to celebrate with his teammates. Steven, you brought up the topic, and this is a PR disaster. Honestly, they were at the finish line. They were there. The season was over. Dodgers had won. Hooray. And then this bombshell landed. What are your thoughts here?
Well, first, I want to pose a question to all of you. And this is something I thought about before the season. The MLB had a ton of reasons to get this postseason played out. They had a lot of money riding on these postseason games to get them on TV, to get them played. If this game had been won by the Rays and they had to go to a Game 7, would the MLB have released that Justin Turner tested positive? Because I don't think so.
The world will never know. They actually did say something this evening where I did have it right in front of me. That here it is. The Dodgers will get additional tests. MLB is doing contact tracing now. Had the Rays won Game 6, MLB would have reviewed results with medical advisors in the morning and decided whether to play Game 7 as scheduled, said Bill Scheiken of the Los Angeles Times.
Let me tell you what would have happened. Justin Turner would have been sent to isolation to be by himself. They would not have run any contact tracing, and they would have told him to play it, finish it, get it over with. Because they couldn't afford for 7 of the Dodgers.
Steven, that's a pretty big take right there to say, hey, baseball. I mean, don't get me wrong, corporations are greedy. Baseball's had a lot of scandal, but we've seen them completely shut down play for teams for 2 weeks already. So that's a pretty big. That's a bold statement here. We do adult real journalism here. We're TWSN. We do it. Yeah. We do it right. We give you the honest. We give you the facts.
And I'm giving you my opinion.
Okay, so give me your opinion here. What makes you think that? Because that's a bold ass take to make.
What makes me think that is how I said they had so much money riding on this postseason. They had it. They were in bubbles. They needed it to go off without a hitch. What happens tomorrow morning or tonight if they run contact tracing and find out that Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw, and 3 other star players were in the contact tracing area with Justin Turner? Are they going to play that Game 7 tomorrow, or are they going to push it back 2 weeks? Can you really push it back 2 weeks and play one game in 2 weeks to decide it all? No, you can't. They were going to play it tomorrow and just let it be. They were going to tell the Rays, they were going to let them know, and they were going to tell the Dodgers to play. If everybody else tested negative tomorrow, they were all going to play.
Look, I'm going to be honest. That might be one of the most anticipated sports events in history of that happen. If they push that back 2 weeks, that would be the most anticipated. 2 teams in a Game 7 at full strength, like it's a Game 1 of the playoffs, that would be one of the most anticipated sports events in history. Hell, that could be pay-per-view stuff, people. That's Mayweather-Pacquiao type shit right there. That's Ali Foreman. That's how anticipated something like that would be. The 2 weeks of build-up. Oh, my God, who do you throw on the mound? We talk about the trio of pitchers Tampa Bay has. Glasnow, Morton, and Snell. Imagine you have all three of those guys at full strength and Nick Anderson, all who could just throw their arm out tirelessly. Kershaw and Buehler on the other side could do the same. It would be fun to watch, but Tom, I guess that's a hypothetical Steven posed there, and I'm kind of curious of your thoughts.
It's a very interesting stance. I do think that we wouldn't have known anything as immediate as we did. I agree with Steven on that point because as we saw, right following the game, they did the celebration after the first commercial break is when Kevin Burkhardt came back, and it was just his face announcing that they just found out that he tested positive in a very dramatic fashion. So I do agree to Steven in the sense that, we probably would not have known about Justin Turner tonight. I do think that they would have found out tomorrow. I actually do agree in a sense that if everyone else tested negative, because again, they did, because then you could go back, right? So, Turner's test that he took yesterday came back positive today, and they did a new round of testing today. So those would be, presumably, back tomorrow. So, then they can make a decision then once all those tests comes in. So it would have been really interesting to see, if all those other tests came back and, sadly, Justin Turner was the lone positive test. I actually do agree with Steven that they probably would have played because there have been some cases, with, the New York Mets this year. I believe it was Cincinnati Reds, but, they only have, 2 days postponed just because of 1 or 2. Because the MLB, give them credit. While, everyone and their mothers hates Rob Manfred, they actually did do a very solid job with COVID this year. It has been over 6 weeks since the last positive test until tonight. So in terms of if everyone else came back negative tomorrow, I do think that that they would have played. I don't know if I disagree or agree with Steven in the sense if it was Justin Turner and Mookie Betts and Clayton Kershaw, they might postpone it for a few days until they could get more additional testing and stuff. I don't know. We don't know.
Let's not deal with all the hypotheticals here. Let's not get into a 40-minute debate over something that we literally will never know.
Let me give my opinion on what happened.
Sure.
I think what happened on the field after the game was sickening, and it was the worst PR thing that has ever happened in the history of baseball.
You're referring to Justin Turner going back out there.
Justin Turner going back onto the field without a mask. It's sickening. People could die.
It's just bad. It's just a bad look. It's a bad, like Steven, you said, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for everybody. I mean, it's just bad all around.
Yeah, there's no one that's going to deny that fact that it's very tough. I was watching it right here live. Him pulling off the mask. It is tough to see that. And you're right. I mean, I texted to Shaun earlier. We said it now. It is a PR disaster, and it's a disaster. Period. So there's no one that's going to really defend that action. But it's actually also kind of sad that this story has kind of become bigger than the Dodgers winning the World Series itself. So it's a sticky situation. It's really sad to see, and it's sad that this is what's happening in the world now. And there's no one that will defend it, and there's no one that I don't know. There's only so much you could say on it.
All right, Jacob, I'm going to go to you on this, and we're close to wrapping up. Thank you for everybody for sticking with us this far. And Jacob, what do you want to see happen? Like, you're a fan. You're one of the most passionate sports fans I know. You bang tables regularly when your team lose. You go crazy. Like, gets a little worrying sometimes, but hell, that's what's amazing about sports. But so what do you want to see happen to the Dodgers here? What kind of repercussions do you want to see?
Talking about repercussions with COVID?
Like punishment, like Justin Turner, the Dodgers, because it was at the Dodgers and Justin Turner's insistence. So do you want to see them be reprimanded? Do you want to see a loss of draft picks? What do you want to see?
I don't know about a loss of draft picks. I think he should – I mean, I don't know how long the season's going to be next year, but I think he should miss a few games. Him personally. I think he's got to miss a few games because I just think – trust me, I get it. If I was him, I'd be tough for me to have to see all my teammates celebrate the World Series that he worked so hard for, not being able to be out there. But, sometimes you got to sacrifice stuff for the greater good, and he should have done that. And I think that the team – I don't know about draft picks, but it's tough. But I think he definitely should miss a decent amount. Not a decent amount, but he should definitely be suspended for multiple games. But
it's a really
Yeah. No, you go.
I'm
Tom.
sorry.
Continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I thought you were finished. It actually is a very interesting situation to see how it all plays out over the coming days and weeks. Because in Ken Rosenthal's report, he says he was asked to stay in isolation. He wasn't told to stay in isolation. So in terms of legal situations, he was only asked.
That's a good point.
And he wasn't forced to stay there. So it's kind of interesting. No one knows what the legal system is in terms of COVID and coming out when, who knows? It's going to be so interesting. I think at the minimum, you'll definitely see a fine. It might, be brushed under the rug, the fine really. A fine towards the organization itself and Turner himself. I don't think you can suspend games just because in terms of, legal and, he was only asked, not forced. So I think, I don't know. Again, it's such a sticky situation. No one's going to defend it, and it sucks to see that this is happening now.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say about this. And I'll ask if any of you guys have anything to jump in. And again, Tom, doing more research on I'm sure that'll come out in the incoming days and all this kind of stuff. But here's what I know. We thought when this thing started, me and you, we were like, oh, we'll meet up in a month or two. We thought this was a 2 or 3 week thing. Steven, I'm sure in the South, you guys thought the same thing. Hell, did we think we'd be in Zoom University, the 4 of us right now? No freaking way. It's been, 8 months at this point? We don't know where we'll be in 7, 8 months from now. And that's when baseball will be coming back. We need safety. The MLB has to take a hard stance on what Steven himself called it sickening what we saw. Sickening. Jacob, one of the worst things we've ever seen. Tom, oh my God, texting me like, how is this happening? In utter shock at what we're seeing. I don't care if you were asked. You are a role model to young kids. You're in one of the most crowded cities in the world, and you're setting an example. We are in a crisis right now, whether how big or small you believe it is. The fact is that it's shutting down the world as we know it. That is the fact that is presented in front of us, and that is an undeniable fact. So the MLB needs to come down hard. And like Tom said, I get it. There's legal stuff. Yeah. You can work around legal stuff. You really can. As much as I don't like being shady, Jacob Aframian is 100% right here. Tom had jokingly called him an imbecile before. We were, again, jokingly. But no, he is 100% right. That was the best thing that he could have said right there, because there needs to be a hard stance on not only Justin Turner, but the fact that he had organizational backing him. One of the top 20 biggest, most valuable organizations in the sports, according to Forbes, was like, yeah, Justin, you go put your teammates at risk. You go kiss your wife out on the field. I hope that was his wife that he was kissing. You go hug your teammates. Hey, you go rip off your mask for all the Tom Seips out there to see. You go do all that. That was their thought process. That is not acceptable at the time and place we are in. Sure, he wants to go hug people in the privacy of his locker room, celebrate when cameras are off, do something private, whatever. We all have our opinions. I'm not going to judge you. Hell, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect in any single way. We all have our flaws, and we all look at stuff like this very differently. But what you cannot do is completely negate your role that you have in society, especially as one of the guys who has overperformed or performed well. I wouldn't say overperformed, but performed fantastic in this World Series, as one of the guys who was a star of a World Series winning team. And this story had already broke. It's not like it hadn't broke yet. Everybody knew Justin Turner had COVID. You cannot negate that. You cannot neglect your responsibility, not only to your organization and society, by going out onto that field.
Yeah, he put
said it better myself.
All right.
Nothing else can say.
No. So with that, that'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed that little bit from me. And remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe, because again, we all do individual work. Especially if you guys want to make some money, I'd say check out Steve Ammann's Lock of the Week right here with Alex Aguini. They do great work every week. They're entertaining, good old Southern boys, fun to watch.
And hey, we will be back over the winter having great discussions about the opener, designated hitter.
I like this. We should do this
about how Jacob Aframian thinks Mike Trout sucks. So we'll be back.
No.
Hey, Jacob, we'll get into that. We'll get into that another time. You don't think he sucks. You just think he's a dumbass for being loyal. You just think he's stupid for some reason. but and then if you guys also want to make more money, make sure you check out TWSN.net and you download the TWSN app, because we got gambling advice every week from Chris Wilson, fantasy advice from our guy Mike Piccarelli. I do the Right Way Kickoff Show with both of them. You ain't gonna find two smarter guys who know more about gambling, fantasy football. And check out my draft profiles. Check out all the other writing Tom and Jacob do. We all put out great content. Make sure you check it out. And TWSN has dropped merch. We finally dropped merch. So go cop that. And thank you. Thank you for tuning in. And hopefully we'll talk some more baseball over the winter.